My name is Carol Carr, and I live south of Wisconsin Rapids. I belong to a quilt group that meets at the Cotton Thimble in Wisconsin Rapids once a month. The Quilt of Valor is new to us. We had only ever made one, and we're trying to find a person to award it to that lived in Wisconsin Rapids. It took a while until we found Bill Hack, who runs the Cafe for Veterans on Wednesday mornings, and since then there hasn't been a problem finding recipients for the Quilts of Valor. We do make these ourselves. They are pieced and quilted and bound, and the Quilt of Valor label attached, and then they are presented to a veteran who has been nominated to the Quilt of Valor Foundation. All of this is non-funded. We take donations of fabrics, of money, whatever, to keep our system going, and it's a thing that makes us all feel good, and hopefully affects our veterans and positively, and their families.
Okay, first thing I'd like to say is I want to welcome everybody here. This is a very nice turnout. And I'd like to start with what we do in the military every time we have a meeting. I'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Today we're gathered to honor 7 of our local veterans. The girls from the Material Girls Thimble, right, that meet at the Cotton Thimble and made quilts. Are part of the nationwide organization known as the Quilts of Valor. I know that some of you might have to leave during the proceedings. That's why I said I'd mention right away. This is no disrespect to anybody, but I know some of you are working and are here just for a few minutes to watch whatever we can and then go on. After we are done, there will be coffee and donuts still over there in the cafeteria. We'll run that till noon today. I'd also like to greet a couple of our special guests. We have Julie Lassa, State Senator. She's in the audience. Would you stand, Julie? Thank you very much. It's just great seeing y'all here. For that, and from now on, I'm just going to turn it over to Carol, and she's going to take it from here, okay? Thank you very much for coming. See you later over at the cafeteria.
I am very glad to be here, just to pay honor and respect to our veterans with these Quilts of Valor. This started for me about 2 years ago when I became interested in Quilts of Valor, and then we as a group made one, and we said, well, gee, now who are we going to give this to? And so I started asking around at different veterans and so on, do you know how we can decide who these quilts get awarded to? And over the period of the 2 years, I never really locked into that person. And I was asked to come over to the cafe one Wednesday morning, and Rock Larson introduced me to Mr. Hack. And I said, hi, Mr. Hack, I'm Carol Carr, and I'd like to talk to you about Quilts of Valor. And he said, oh, I know what those are. I have one. And it's just been a tidal wave since then. So he's on a mission. We're trying to catch up to him. So this will be 14 quilts. And we're very happy to be here and to be awarding them. Where I came from quilting, I started this about 30 years ago, moved to Wisconsin Rapids, joined this group that meets at the Cotton Thimble. They're called Material Girls Quilt Club. We are basically a service organization, and so it has a hometown feel for us to be able to make these Quilts of Valor and present them in our community. My background is that I'm a surviving spouse of a veteran who spent 35 years in the Army Reserves. He was deployed with the 44th General Hospital out of Madison at the time of the Iraq invasion, long history ago. And I was a quilt maker then and still am now. So a little bit of military in my blood, and not only do I want to honor these veterans, but their families, because I get that part of it. What are Quilts of Valor? How did they get there? Who started this? Catherine Roberts from the southeastern part of the country had her oldest son go to Iraq. She one night had a dream, and I'm going to read to you her words because they pretty much say it all. This was in 2003. This whole thing began with a deployed son and a dream, literally a dream. The dream was as vivid as real life. I saw a young man sitting on the side of his bed, hunched over. It was the middle of the night. The permeating feeling was one of utter despair. It was as though I could see his war demons clustered around him, dragging him down into an emotional gutter. Then, as if viewing a movie, the next scene was totally transformative. He was wrapped in a quilt. His whole demeanor changed from one of despair to one of hope and well-being. It was the quilt that made this change. I founded the foundation with the image of a combat warrior struggling with his war demons and not necessarily physical wounds. We are one human being reaching out and touching another without judgment, reaching out with acceptance and an acknowledgement of their service to our nation in very trying circumstances. We as a foundation will go wherever those who have been touched by war go or are. We don't need high-profile venues to find them. They're in plain sight. So today we're going to honor some of these veterans. The foundation doesn't limit the wars that they can be awarded to. Today we just happen to have World War II represented, Korea, and Vietnam. Some of the returning units that are deployed right now will come back to a whole unit receiving their Quilts of Valor. So it's a national organization. You can nominate someone anywhere in the country and it will happen. So these quilts will be going to people who have been nominated by bill. However, if you have family members, if you have people somewhere else in the country, you can do the same thing. The Quilts of Valor organization has every state has an organization that's made up of quilters who piece the tops, of long arm quilters who volunteer to do the quilting on the quilts, and then those of us who finish it up by doing binding and making it look pretty after the machine quilters do their magic with it. The quilts aren't blankets. They are quilts. They're comprised of 3 layers. The top layer being all the piecing that's done, representing the 40 to 50 people that might be working on them. The center is the bedding. That provides the warmth and the comfort. The back part is the backing, which holds everything together, which is our community and our group of friends and family members and all the quilters. So this is a big piece of giving someone a hug. Last year, the state awarded over 600 quilts. This year, they're hoping to at least make it to 1,000. So we've added a mere 14, so that's about all we can help right now. The quilts are awarded. You can't buy one online. You can't get one as a Christmas gift. They are a lifetime achievement award. You will only get one, and this allows us to contact more people. All of the people that work with the Quilts of Valor are volunteers. There are only 2 people that get paid. One is the webmaster, the other one is the one that gives legal advice when needed. Everyone else volunteers their time, their fabrics, their threads, whatever. The time involved is about a 3-month space of time, a chunk for it to be completed. So sometimes we can do it quicker, but the 3 months is a good estimate of time. Today, we're gonna award the following individuals with their Quilt of Valor. On behalf of the foundation and the Wisconsin Quilt of Valor, let me read the citation that'll be awarded to the veterans with each quilt. So, Mr. John Seward, on behalf of the Quilts of Valor Foundation, in recognition for your service and sacrifice for this nation, it is a privilege to honor and comfort you through the award of this Quilt of Valor. Though we may never know the depth of your sacrifice to protect and defend the United States of America, as a gesture of gratitude from a grateful nation, we award to you this Quilt of Valor. So, Mr. Seward, would you stand, please? And if you can step forward just a little bit. Yes, yes. Okay, so no, you need to stay standing. Stay there. Second one is right there. Robert Cleworth. Could you please stand and step out a couple of steps? Okay. Mr. Cleworth was in the Air Force. He's from World War II and served in both theaters. And I'm sorry, Mr. Seward, I will come back to you because I didn't read the rest of your information.
Thank you.
If we can go back to Mr. Seward, he was in the Navy in World War II. He served on board the USS Satterley on D-Day. Satterley was the first ship to sight the French coast on D-Day. Our next recipient is Floyd Pagel. If you would stand and step out a couple of steps. Oh, okay, she's coming.
Maybe I can grab this guy's card. I don't know how to do this. Oh, yeah. Very beautiful. Really beautiful.
Mr. Pagel was in the Army from 1943 to 46 in World War II. He belonged to Company D, 289th Infantry Regiment, 75th Division. Robert Pierzynski, would you please stand? Robert was in the Marines in World War II. He was a participant in landings on Guadalcanal and Peleliu and New Britain. He saw a lot of action, and he is a genuine American hero from the greatest generation.
My name is Bob Pierzynski. I served in the Marine Corps from July 31st till 1945. I was on Guadalcanal in 42, in November of 42.
Yeah, that's right.
And after that, we went to Australia, and then from there I went to Cape Gloucester, New Britain. Whereas there we were trying to keep the Japanese on their end of Rabu, which is a big Jap base. Came back to near Guadalcanal, the island of Pavuvu. And from there, I went to Peleliu. That was in September of 44. And I was in there, and I got wounded there October 8th.
Louis Polzing, would you stand? Louis Polzing. Robert. Wayne served in the Navy in World War II. He served on LCL 777 as part of a Task Force 58 United States 7th Fleet.
Yeah. Shake hands, I didn't have a hold of it, yeah.
Yeah, you have to sit on them.
Thank you very much.
Richard Sowinski. Richard was in the Army. He served in Korea from 1952 to 1954 with the headquarters X-Corps, 1952 to 1954.
Yeah. My name is Dick Sawinski. I served in the Korean War. I was drafted. It was toward the end of the draft. I was drafted in August of '52, and the war ended in '53. It was supposed to be a police action, but it actually developed into a big war. Later, after the war, served in the Signal Corps, and I think giving this quotes was a very patriotic thing, and I appreciate it very much.
The next recipient is William Mansell. William served in the Air Force in Vietnam, 1968 to 1970. That concludes all of our presentations. If families would like to come up and have pictures taken of themselves with their veteran, now is probably the best time to do that. I want to thank you all for coming and for your attention and your support for what we are trying to do. And thank you, gentlemen. Welcome home.
My name is Jackie Kalinsky, and this is my brother Bob. We come from a family of 12, and I was just 3 months old when he enlisted in the service, and I'm very proud of him, and I love him very much.